Now, given that John and Dave are literally working around the clock to really provide Star Wars fans the best material that they can, with, of course, the Ahsoka Tano series on the horizon that Dave Filoni wrote all by himself, by the way, with a little bit of help by Jon Favreau, and zero Kathleen Kennedy involvement, I think is the main reason why a lot of fans, including myself, are really giving this show a fair chance, and why even the Disney executives are viewing this show as the home run, quote-unquote, for Disney Plus Star Wars. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and without further ado, let's get right into this. Now, we know that there's a lot of things going on right now with John, Dave, Tony, as well as George Lucas. They're all working on really kind of delivering the best Star Wars material that they can to really convince the fans that Star Wars is going to thrive and survive and turn around. Now, basically, that's what they want to do. They want to create a turnaround event, and that event is the Ahsoka series. They really do believe that Star Wars Ahsoka is really going to be the start of the new universe of the franchise. And Dave Filoni keeps pointing this out. Disney CEO Bob Iger keeps pointing this point out as well, to really kind of just build the hype. And given that Mando Season 3, it wasn't all John and Dave to blame. A lot of it had to do with Kathleen Kennedy interrupting with their plan and their strategy for the plot. Now, with that being said, with both John and Dave beginning to work on Star Wars Ahsoka Season 2 already, as storyboards are being prepared and illustrated, one of them consists of a very big moment for the Star Wars franchise and for the fans. One of the storyboard illustrations that were finalized for the script is said to involve a full-on reunion scene between both Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost and Ahsoka Tano. Now, the scene is described to take place inside of an ancient Jedi temple that is currently dubbed the Lost City, that is an underground Jedi temple that was created by the first Jedi, and the first group of Jedi Knights as well. This is said to be a setup for James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie, where in this temple, Ahsoka begins to hear a voice, and that voice is no other than Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost, portrayed by actor Hayden Christensen. Now, the storyboards illustrate a moment in which Anakin is first presented as 3 balls or spears of light that begin to form into one and then slowly materialize as a regular Force Ghost eventually. Now, these spheres are said to be ways that the Force Ghost can enter and exit from the Netherworld into the Mortal World and vice versa, a new type of lore that John and Dave will be expanding. Now, let me just say one thing about that. That's a very interesting point. I believe we saw something like that in Star Wars Rebels, where Yoda is communicating with Ezra Bridger. You guys may recall, I believe it was in one of those episodes, correct me if I'm wrong, where you do see those spheres. So that's going to be presented in the Ahsoka series, Season 2 specifically, not the first one, and to really kind of set things up for how Force Ghosts are able to literally enter and exit from the netherworld of the Force. Now, what I like about this is that it's really expanding the lore on how Force Ghosts really work. Now, we know one thing is that John and Dave are debating on giving the netherworld a brand new name. There's been a lot of names that they've been kind of brainstorming, but one of which that they really want to really focus on is calling the netherworld of the Force simply the Astral Plane. And some fans may like that name, some fans may come to dislike it. It really is all dependent on, your perspective on things, but it is based on real philosophy and stuff around those lines. Now, the thing that I like about this the most is how they are planning a full reunion between Anakin and Ahsoka in the depths of this quote-unquote lost city. This is an original plan, by the way, that J.J. Abrams is going to actually do in both The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker that got scrapped. So basically, John and Dave are taking that idea, perfecting it, and executing it in a more better way in the Ahsoka series Season 2. Moving on. Now, it's here that Anakin gives Ahsoka Tano a whole lesson of the first Jedi, who he, of course, was, the first Jedi that is, of course, currently unnamed. We're not quite sure who he is just yet. In John and Dave's sense, since they will be retconning a lot of elements, we're going to get into that right now. It's here that Anakin, of course, provides that lesson, who he was and how the Jedi truly began. John and Dave are said to be retconning the first Jedi from Rian Johnson's side of the story via the Last Jedi visual dictionary, and will be completely changing that story. Anakin in these descriptions is described to appear slightly different with longer hair than how he was presented in Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi, and a different hue of blue. However, one big plan for the setup of Anakin materializing involves him shape-shifting from Sebastian Stan's design of Anakin first, and eventually morphing or forming into the Hayden iteration of Anakin's Force Ghost, appearing before Ahsoka before providing her this valuable lesson. This is yet another original idea by J.J. Abrams that John and Dave will be taking, perfecting, and executing in a different way. This is John and Dave's way of paying respect to both actors as Anakin Skywalker. Let me just say one thing about that. That, to me, is genius. I don't know about you guys, but this is a very good way to pay respect to both actors who played Anakin Skywalker unmasked. As you all saw, Sebastian Shaw, I meant to say, not Stan. Sebastian Shaw, alright, is a valuable actor in the Star Wars universe. We know that Sebastian really played the role very, very well when he was going through his last few breaths as Anakin. And as you all saw in the original cut, you do see him as a Force Ghost. Now, Sebastian Shaw actually was the original iteration of Anakin, unmasked, both in the suit of Vader and as a Force Ghost. And a lot of fans grew up with it that way. A lot of fans remember it that way in the original trilogy. Not many fans, would really say it's a bad thing to switch him to Hayden. I still to this day think it was a great move to kind of create that continuity. But Sebastian Shaw's design is a very interesting design because at the end of the day, it is the older iteration of Anakin. So they want to create that both. Himself as a Force Ghost shape-shifting into the Hayden iteration. That, to me, I think is a great thing. Now, the other thing about this Sebastian Shaw plan is that they're going to be digitally recreating him through ILM's new deepfake technology. So it's going to be interesting to see which actor they're going to get to portray the older version of Anakin, and kind of creating a match for the face. Now, the thing that I find to be very interesting about this whole scene is that what John and Dave are already planning is that they are going to literally be investigating the Lost City, Ahsoka specifically, investigating the Lost City, where the First Jedi started, and how this is going to be literally a retcon of where the First Jedi began. Plural, of course, not necessarily singular here, but plural in the sense because the first Jedi, the Jedi Knights, the first group of them, settled underground in this lost city, quote-unquote. This is very interesting stuff. Now, we know that the first season of Ahsoka is going to deal with Jedi temples and such, but Season 2 is set to really go back to the ancient times, discovering all of this lore to set up James Mangold's movie. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again, no hiding. From night to moon, we hear them moans again.